I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And thank you, everybody, for that. County Attorney is now present. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have 4.10 to add to the agenda, and the title would be to appoint Deputy Jacob Wesher to sergeant position.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, it would be
411.
411. I didn't see 10 down there, you're right. Thank you.
Is there any other additions? If none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
By Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Consent items today then are 4.1, meeting minute approval, May 16th, 2023, and May 24th, 2023. Gambling permit for Hutchinson's American Legion Post 96. Resignation John DeCock, Sergeant 5/30/23. Hire full-time jailer Preston Cracker, start date to be determined. Hire part-time jailer Jacob Burdette, start date to be determined. Hire part-time deputy Callan Pulliam, start date to be determined. Resignation of child service supervisor Michaela Johnson 8/4/2023. Appoint health service manager Kim DeCock, start date 6/6/2023. Appoint seasonal Energy Assistant Program, EAP, Office Support Specialist 2, Kelly Bitts. Appoint social worker Mickey Berg, start date to be determined, and appoint Deputy Jacob Wesher to sergeant position.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The auditor warrants for May 2023, background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the May 2023 auditor warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $11,419,068.72. This is a large number because it was the May tax settlement.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The next item would be the Commissioner's warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $80,059.63.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The next item we have would be the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Commissioner warrant with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $55,850.85.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
And the last item I have then would be the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background again was sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $130,147.87.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving along, facilities.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
So I have just a discussionary item for you today. The topic is the Master Gardeners shelving. The background is the Master Gardeners have funds available to redo the shelving that is not attached to the wall underneath the grandstands area. This shelving, after complete, would be then put into place during fair time. The shelving units, after they are completed and installed, would then be donated to Todd County. The facilities committee just recommended I make the board aware of this. When the Master Gardeners came to our meeting, they would be have the funds available, like I said, and just wanted to make the board aware of what they were doing, and that we requested that they would be donated at the end. They were fully aware. I did not receive information on the cost for the item. Unfortunately, they didn't get back to me in time, which those things happen. So, but we just want to make the board aware. Any questions?
Chris, are you going to oversee it? Manage-
Yes, we'll oversee it. They're gonna make them roughly the same size that they have. They obviously have just a portion of the grandstand area underneath. So it's gonna be roughly the same size shelving. It's just after years when it was donated, it's just seen its better life. So we are they're looking to replace it, and it's gonna be roughly the same size, and we'll make sure that we coordinate it with them to get it installed as quick as possible and be error-free if we can.
And if I could just add to that, with the donation, we will just have a written statement from them stating that they donated.
Exactly.
All right, you heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Gotta have,
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, they haven't.
yeah, we gotta approve
Okay,
this.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So motion by Denny,
I'll second.
second by Nasca. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, guys.
What do we do here? Right?
Yeah, you had to do a motion, because
Right.
it's, yes, you did it
Discussion?
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
It's a discussion, but
The
it's,
donation?
Yep. That way we have a paper trail.
Okay, got it,
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Our one item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request to replace the roof over the office area, and I'll just read the background quickly here. The roof over the office area at the Long Prairie Shop has experienced a number of leaks in various areas throughout the years. The office was last replaced in 2002 by Herzog Roofing, and I did attach their warranty to this document here. We did reach out and got 2 quotes to replace the roof with a 6 mil EPDM rubber roofing system. We got one for Buttweiler's Dual Incorporated for $33,340 that has a 15-year warranty. And we also got one from Herzog Roofing for $52,000 and it has a 20-year warranty. This item was on the agenda at the last meeting but did get removed for further discussion at our facilities meeting. And we had a great discussion on this specific topic, and basically we came up with it was that we do know that the Public Works building there's currently money being put away in a savings account to replace the building. But at this time, we believe at least we'll be in this facility for at least 6 to 8 years, depending on where other projects are within the county. So at that point in time, we felt that this was a good investment to maintain the structural stability and the building in its current condition. So with that, our recommendation is to approve the attached quote from Buttweiler's Dual Incorporated to replace the roof over the office area at the Long Prairie Shop for $33,340.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
I will make the motion, and I'll make the motion with number 1. But I would also like to add to the motion with the estimated time being in the building 6 to 8 years, and I would like to see that within the motion.
Okay.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second by Nasca. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Planning and zoning.
All right, good morning. First item this morning is the Josh Berkachik request for CUP. This application for a conditional use permit for an expansion of an existing auto body repair shop and establishment of a salvage yard on parcel 12-0006903 in Hartford Township was submitted on April 5th, and the application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the May 4th public hearing. The item was remanded back to the Planning Commission on May 16th to confirm the wellhead protection area boundary and to receive comments from the City of Browerville. The Planning Commission has reviewed this additional information during the June 1st public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the permit with the conditions below. Options would be to grant the permit with the proposed conditions, do not, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. The recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the conditional use permit on parcel, I have the wrong parcel number there, I apologize, but a parcel 12-0006903 with the following conditions: that all existing fencing shall be maintained for screening purposes as long as the proposed use continues to exist. 2, all salvage vehicles must be kept within the fenced-in area of the property. And 3, all waste automotive fluids must be disposed of in a manner that complies with all applicable federal, state, and local standards. And 4, that the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. So we did establish what the story was on that sign, and actually the City of Browerville provided some insight to that. So I have the notice or letter from them, or it's an email, and I can read that. As you know, this property is not in our wellhead protection area. The signage in that area was placed for informational purposes. It is an awareness tool should there be a major spill on Highway 71 and on the road nearest the parcel in which the wellhead protection area exists. It does not indicate the border of the wellhead protection area. The city has no comment or official position, and she mentioned that she did speak with Commissioner Noska on that also. So that was from Bobby Joe Fry, the city administrator.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is
I'll
there?
move to grant the permit with proposed conditions.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. None. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, second, Eastwood Shores, first edition, final plat. An application for a subdivision to establish a 5-lot plat on parcel 21-0048400, Round Prairie Township was received on December 19th. The preliminary plat was approved on March 21st, 2023 by the Board of Commissioners with the following conditions. 1, establishment of a drainage easement for protection of the wetland area on lots 1 and 2, and the drainage easement shall include the wetland area and a 25-foot buffer on all sides. 2, the driveway accesses must be approved by the township. And 3, the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. Planning and Zoning has completed the review of this application and determined it is ready for final platting. The options would be to approve the final plat as presented or deny the final plat. The recommendation is approval of the final plat as presented to formally establish Eastwood Shores First Edition. And the final plat and the maps and stuff should be attached there too if you're not familiar with this site.
Okay. Heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. I got a question. Every time I looked at that Eastwood, because I got an Eastwood over on Osakis, so I'd look
Oh,
at that going,
sure.
is this Osakis or
Right, yeah.
is there a Eastwood Shores on Osakis? I know there's Eastwood Drive.
I don't recall off the top of my head. This lot is actually part of the original Eastwood Shores of Latimer, and so they called it First Edition to play off of that. But I don't recall right offhand if there's one on Osakis also. But part of that review process is making sure that that exact plat name doesn't already exist. So it might be Eastwood Shores with the number 1 First Edition, or where this is spelled out or something like that.
Okay. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Solid waste. morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners.
Morning.
So we try to do like generally a monthly update for you on the transfer station project. And so we just prepared a brief memorandum. There's no action on this, and just open it up for any questions you guys have. So in the memorandum, I'll just go through some brief updates we have here. On the permitting side, the permit application has been submitted to the MPCA. I have reached out to Engineer Shirk on that and asked for a schedule on how they think they'll get their permitting done from a timeline, and I have not gotten a response back yet. On the bidding, the civil drawings are complete, signed and ready for bidding. We have comments in on the architectural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We don't have those back yet. Because of the permitting, we're not really pressing that, but I know they've replied already with their review of our comments, so that's going along well. On the funding side, there was a request in for additional funding at the state level. I think, as I understand, Representative Wiener will be here at the work session to talk about his efforts on that. From our side, the next step in funding is really, as we've talked about before, we need to bid the work and get an actual number from a contractor to finalize that. When that happens, we'll revisit the funding, and currently the budget we have includes $1 million contingency, and that's because we don't have a number. So when bids open, then that contingency will be reduced significantly. Typically, I think generally you go down to like a 3 to 5% contingency. On schedule, we're hoping that permitting will be done around July or August, and we could start advertising for bids then. The expectation then is to have a permit before we award the bid. I have reached out to the MPCA and just said, with the schedule, I think it's possible to get done by December of '24, but when we advertise for that bid, I think to require that of the contractor would drive the price up. So I'd like the MPCA's permission to extend the date. I think they've been well informed on this project. We've worked really hard on it, and to get like a 6-month extension on the end now, so we can share that benefit with the contractor in the bidding process, would be a significant cost savings for us. Next steps for us for tasks this summer, just another draw from the state on our costs. We've been paying Stantec to do the work they've done. They've reimbursed us on one pay draw. We should do another one. And then start getting quotes and purchasing equipment. So I'm kind of hoping that comes in line with that bid opening, because right now we're kind of riding two horses. We've included the costs of the capital equipment in the project budget. We've kind of also included it in our capital improvement plan, and how we pay for that's going to really depend on where the bid opens for the building itself. But those items that would be needed for the new facility are walking floor trailers, a semi-tractor, forklift, wheeled grapple, and then just a few roll-offs. There's other stuff, but those are the big items that have a significant cost. That's about all I have. Is there any questions or?
Any questions?
I do. I don't quite know how to address this, but I guess I'm getting concerned on, it seems like it's taking forever to get this project off
Well,
rolling.
I would think that we probably could have done it better if we didn't have any comments back to our consultants. I would like to say that we have good consultants, but we've been very engaged on this project, and the good work they've done is really good work now. I'm sure there's other stories of projects that have gone faster, but in this day and age, it just takes some time to do, a project that's 6 to 8 million. And if we were harder on them, I don't think it would make them do a better job. I think we've held them accountable, had tough questions for them that they have responded well to make sure that when we get a bid package, there's a curve that I've seen when projects like this get done, and I don't know that we've ever demonstrated it here, but the cost of a project, as you develop the work and you change things, in the beginning it's really cheap to change something. You want to move a building or a road, and you've just got a rough back of the envelope design, you're not far into it. As they get that detailed design closer to a finished project, and you say, oh, just move the building 40 feet or something, that costs a lot more money. And then after you've bid the project and you've awarded it to a contractor, now you make a change, and the cost of those changes are exponentially higher. So I would say from our efforts, we have front-loaded our work in the last 18 months to make sure that they have a really good project. And part of that really good means that we have personal ownership as a county in what's on those drawings. And that will save us when we have that project awarded.
I agree with you, and I think we've done that
Mm-hmm.
from day one going forward. But it's like, all of a sudden, we're at a standstill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the permit
Yep.
got left in the.
And they, you know, they're not in the room to defend themselves, and I don't want to throw them, I don't want to say this too harshly, but they've acknowledged that they could have done better on the scheduling with the permitting. So to your point, you're right.
Any other questions on that? Representative Weiner did
Yeah.
appear, so he's there, so I'll just say, thank. I just want to thank him for his efforts down at the Capitol, him and Senator Utke, and making sure, following this up and getting us some extra money, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have more discussion with you at the work session, so. Okay. All right, Chris, what's next?
Okay, next is, we're supposed to do a biannual all-board meeting. And we have a few dates on the board there for you, for your consideration on availability. July 13th, August 10th, and September 14th. And those dates just happen to correspond with our committee meeting. Those were our first shots for you. So those are second Thursdays of each month. Would any of those work for you?
Well, with,
The second Thursday of each month is probably the busiest day of the month for us, because we start with soil and water.
right.
Yeah.
Is there a particular, we can shoot on the fly if you'd like, or would you like us to come back with other
I
dates?
mean, how does it work out for the rest of you guys?
Lou, you got a date?
No,
that you could-
it works for me. What time would this be?
I don't think we even specified it would be to.
Thursdays are usually pretty good, but I would say if you guys think you're too busy and you guys are okay with switching the day too, I mean, that's fine with me. We can find something else.
So if we have our water and soil meeting that morning, Commissioner Becker, and then we
And
go.
do it right after that,
Yeah, and then go right out to solid waste.
and then go
there.
to Rainbow Rider.
Yeah.
That would be
Barbie?
great.
Mr. Chair, would you then be skipping the solid waste committee meeting that's scheduled for 10 o'clock that morning, or would we be doing it after? Just a question.
We're fine with whatever you decide. We would probably prepare our monthly packet and maybe just go through it with the whole board.
With the whole board, and that way, but it would take us probably, 15, 20 minutes to get out there from here
Mm-hmm.
to Briarville, and
Mhm.
then, yeah, Just have
Let's
the
try it for the 13th.
full board
then.
there.
What time?
10 a.m. Well,
Well, say 10:30.
10:30,
10:30.
thank you.
Let's shoot at 10:30.
Yeah.
Because Commissioner Becker and I have to be in Cyrus by 3 if they don't call a special personnel or building facilities meeting, so. So July 13th?
Yep.
10:30. Is that okay with everybody?
Hold on,
gonna
no,
work?
the 13th may not work for me. I just,
Oh.
just double checked my other calendar.
Yeah.
Can we do it in August? Is that okay? Or no?
Yeah, we can do it in August.
Can we do the August 10 one? Then maybe it's not so hot.
Commissioner, not.
It's hot all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry
So-
about that.
Okay. August 10th. Hopefully, we won't have any changes there, but, will August 10th work for everybody? Commissioner Denny?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It will,
Commissioner
yep.
Becker? Yep.
I-
All right, so, looking at August 10th,
Yep.
is there a motion?
Sorry,
Please.
I'll motion for August 10th.
Okay, motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second it.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Will we be having a design meeting before that August 10th meeting? Or what's going to happen? I just hate to see the time go by when, you know,
At,
if we can be doing something or if we can continue to move this on.
right now, all the work is in the MPCA's hands and and Stantec's hands. There's nothing on our plate,
Okay.
which is a nice place to be.
Right?
Great.
I don't know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Health and Human Services. Jackie.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Commissioners. Good morning. First on the agenda for a board action forum is the Fraud Prevention, Investigation, and Prosecution Interagency Agreement. Some background. Todd County Health and Human Services, the Todd County Sheriff, and the Todd County Attorney's Office desire to establish cooperative procedures for the effective enforcement of food support and Minnesota Family Investment Program, also called MFIP. Rules and regulations, investigation and prosecution of food support and MFIP fraud cases, and for the effective enforcement, investigation, and prosecution of other assistance programs, fraud cases. I'm gonna hand it over to Stephen and to Lisa here to give you an update regarding that.
Good morning. We have some statistics from state fiscal year 2022. So that was July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. And Todd County, during that time, had a cost savings for the programs of $58,380. So those were benefits that didn't go out because we determined the information to be incorrect through fraud. The overpayments identified were $55,012. We had 7 people that were disqualified for the first offense, or the first occurrence is a year, so then they can't receive those benefits for a year once they're disqualified. We did not have any criminal cases prosecuted, but we have made some referrals and we've had some charges brought forth. So those results are yet to come. So the total savings overpayment and the ADH total was $120,392 for that year. The cost to benefit ratio was $4.86. So the return on our investment, the cost to the program was $24,747. And so then the cost to benefit ratio is $4.86. And the required cost to benefit ratio is $3. So we're quite a bit above that. So the program is doing well. Some of those overpayments also include healthcare overpayments. It's going to become more difficult for us we just received a bulletin last week that we're not going to be able to cite some of those overpayments any longer.
Why?
I don't know. That's legislation that they passed.
Okay.
So we may see, our cost to benefit ratio go down because of that. The healthcare overpayments are really what drives that up. So it looks like, unless it's a fraud prosecution, that's the only time we'd be able to cite those as overpayments.
Wow.
That was my reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you have any questions about the program?
How long have you guys been running this program?
Our county, prior to that, we were with Cass County.
Right, and then we went on our own.
Right, so this is the second full
Okay.
fiscal year,
Okay.
going into our third.
All right. Any other questions? You want to read the board action into?
The recommendations?
Yes,
Or
please.
options?
Yes.
Option 1, to approve the Fraud Prevention Investigation Program Cooperative Agreement between Todd County Health and Human Services, Todd County Sheriff, and the Todd County Attorney's Office. 2, or to not approve. Our recommendation is to approve the Fraud Prevention Investigation Program Cooperative Agreement between Todd County Health and Human Services, the Todd County Sheriff's Office, and the Todd County Attorney's Office.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Noska. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Board Chair, Mr. Newman, Commissioner Newman, I just wanted to take this moment to thank John's office, both John and John's office, in working with us in this arrangement. It has been a successful arrangement that we've been able to make some significant work on. So with the new regulations, we'll be working through those. But also, I wanted to thank Lisa Chapin. This is going to be her last board meeting here before she retires next week on the 15th. So her 38-plus years at Todd County has made a difference, and you've done some excellent work, and you've earned it.
And she's going to be missed.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, opioid settlement
Follow up with
funding.
that, huh, Catherine?
We got a few more years.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right, opioid settlement funding proposal. This is our first one we're bringing to board regarding the peer support in the jail. And I'm just gonna let you take it over from here to give some background and.
Sure, absolutely. As you may be aware, the opioid settlement has come down from last year, and we began an advisory council in January. Thank you to Commissioner Newman for filling in for Commissioner Erickson. I do appreciate that. So we've been meeting since January. The group has really discussed what's the current trends, what are the issues in Todd County related to these issues around opioid use, misuse, and addiction. And it's been a really good conversation. So we put together a very simple funding request form, mirrored after the ARPA form, so it should look familiar. And we're beginning to identify some areas of funding. So today we bring two of those to you, and anticipate we'll continue to do that. The MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement, should be on your desk in front of you. I apologize, it is 30 pages, but it is very important. It states very clearly, if you look towards, I think it's page 16, there's approved uses for these dollars. And every time we bring these dollars forward to you, you will see that we will identify which item of those approved uses it fits with for each one, because when we do reporting annually, it's very clear that we have to point to that MOA and point what is an approved use of these dollars and what isn't. It's exhaustive, so that we feel there's a lot of opportunities still with these dollars, but we do need to be very clear. So that's why you have those in front of you. Commissioner Newman had requested that, so we can be sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure these dollars are spent well. So the first one is a peer support program in the jail. Mike Steinbeiser brought this to the group, and Kim will take over. I'll read the board action. Can you scroll back up, please?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I thought you wanted to.
I'm going
go
to give you the
attachment.
brief, and then we can get to the funding request. So Todd County Opioid Settlement Advisory Council met on May 17, 2023, and reviewed the attached funding request and approved this project for funding. This request would allow Wellness in the Woods staff to be present once a week in the Todd County Jail to provide peer support for inmates and assist with re-entry and recovery. So if you scroll down to the funding request form, this is what it looks like. You'll see on the top, there's that justification, so B3 and D4. If you look in your document, you'll see that those specifically state around peer recovery supports, and also D4 specifically states for incarcerated individuals. So Wellness in the Woods has been providing this in the jail, I believe, for the last year. There was some funding through the RMHI Regional Mental Health Initiative. Those dollars have declined, but the program is really well received by the inmates, and we feel is really impactful, helping them with their reentry, with their recovery process. So Wellness in the Woods has done a great job. They have a staff person who has a personal experience and that lived experience of being incarcerated, who really relates well with the inmates. They also have the opportunity for a female staff person to meet with the female inmates virtually who'd be more comfortable with that. So I think it's a really great program and really good to continue this in the jail. As we all know, when you start and stop things, sometimes you can miss opportunities. So we see this as being funded from June of this year. It was funded about $5,000 through the RMHI to go up until May, and now we'll continue that funding if approved through the opioid settlement funds through the end of the year. And then we'll assess, should we continue that further?
So options are to approve the opioid settlement funding request for peer support program in the jail from Wellness in the Woods, or to not approve. It's our recommendation that you approve the settlement request form in front of you today.
All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. None. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried. Thank you.
Second request related to the opioid settlement proposal is the administrative support. Some background. Todd County Opioid Settlement Advisory Council met on May 17th, 2023, and reviewed the attached funding request and approved for funding. The request would allow Health and Human Services staff to provide administrative support to facilitate the Opioid Settlement Advisory Council, oversee implementation of funded projects, and complete all required reporting. Options are to approve the opioid settlement funding request to provide the administrative support, or to not approve. Our request is to approve the funding request to provide the administrative support.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And as these requests come in, we will vet them through the committee and bring them to the commission for final approval.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll be seeing more, I'm guessing.
All right. Home health care.
Next board action forum is the home care program. Some background. The Public Health Department received certification from CMS to provide home care services beginning in 1970. At that time, home care services were not available in Todd County by private agencies. Today, there are a number of home care agencies that can provide this service in Todd County. Information was presented back on May 16th, 2023 work session regarding the challenges facing Todd County Health and Human Services home care providing, including the lack of a contract for physical and occupational therapy, an inability to hire and retain home health aides, homemakers and nurses, and an all-time low volume of home care clients, an increasing administrative burden due to, in a part, mandated electronic verification starting at the end of 2023. The county levy dollars need to operate this program that is not a mandated county service has increased substantially. The department's license to provide home care services is renewed annually on August 31st of each year. Options: to opt out of home care license renewal, discontinue providing services, and transition remaining clients to other providers. 2, continue to provide limited home care services. And the recommendation is vacant, and I'll let you take it over from here.
Okay. You heard the request. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Third and final.
I'll make a motion to opt out of home care. I just, about 8 years ago, I was in that study that we did, and concerned about people falling through the cracks and so forth. And I think we've had many discussions about this in the last few weeks. And I think my major concern was, will there be people falling through the cracks, or what will happen to if they can't seek out other services? And I guess that's my question to Jackie is, to make sure that there is some services for these people if something should happen.
Yesterday, I went out again just to verify one more time for myself, and looked at other home care services that are available to residents in Todd County. I did find 3 agencies that do provide it in the radius of our zip codes in Todd County, being Lakewood, Centricare, Stated Central Minnesota, and Canute Nelson. So there is home care that is available. What we've struggled with and why we're here today is we're struggling with that physical therapy, occupational therapy contract. We have not had a contract in 6 months. We haven't been able to take those clients with that skilled need that are coming from the hospital to go home, to be able to get stronger at home with that physical therapy, occupational therapy need. Those clients' needs have been able to be met by the other providers in 6 months. We do have some clients that do have a skilled need around medication regimen. We do believe that we can cover those clients and other billing opportunities within the county, but not under a home care license. So if the commissioners would choose or make that decision that we would not renew our certification past August 31st, those referrals would stop coming into Todd County. And quite frankly, they have stopped because I've asked them to put them on hold, as if that decision is made, we do need to find, we'll be referring those clients out to other organizations. Those clients that we have currently on our client list we'll be working with in transitioning if that's the choice of the board or if that's what the board chooses. And we do plan to keep those clients in our care as long as we can through other opportunities, possibly through public health nurse visits or clinic visits. So there is some opportunity to continue to see those clients to be sure that they're safe in their home. But if the board chooses, we would no longer take home care referrals because we wouldn't have that designation anymore.
Yeah, And this is one of the tough decisions as commissioners, something that we have to make a
Absolutely.
decision on. And, you know, yeah, the funding, is the biggest struggle that we have. And, you know, we cannot continue to lose money, taxpayers' money on a situation. And like I said, my parents have utilized this service, and it's hard. But I also realize as a commissioner, I have a job to do. And that's, I work for the taxpayers of Todd County. And, you know, I understand where our staff is coming from. I really do, but staff's also got to understand where I have to come from and make a really hard decision if we're going to continue to lose funding, unless the state decides to come in and help us with this. But we're one of 4 counties that's doing this. Okay, there's people in the private sector that do it. Are they gonna cover? And Commissioner Becker and I have had this conversation. You know, we're concerned about the people falling through the cracks. And God help us, I don't think we'll allow that in Todd County. I think we're gonna be here and we'll figure something out. But that's something we have to look at. I mean, we gotta start thinking outside the box. Because these individuals, you know.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
Jackie, you know, I see you've got it written here that you have an inability to hire and retain home health aides, homemakers, and nurses. So, I mean, is it your opinion right now that we're almost inadequate at this point because we don't
Yes.
have, you know, are we not doing it, you know, just because we can't keep the staff? Are we not doing it right anyway? Or not necessarily right, but can we not meet
Is
the needs?
the intent of the home care
Right.
license known, not the way that we're doing, we're not able to provide the service as it's intended
You
to
know,
be?
maybe it is best it's passed to someone that can staff it, you know,
Right.
that can get it done. And,
Right.
you know, it's terrible to pass it down, but, you know, we don't need to keep spending
Well,
money
and
on something
that's
that's
a
not.
conversation I had with my mother. You know, it's like, hey, I gotta do my job.
Right.
And I think times have changed too. You know, when you look back, even when we did that study, what was it, 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was, you know, how it has changed. More people are out there doing, from the private sector, coming in and doing home health care and so forth. So I think we have to look at it that way also.
Regulations continue to increase as well.
Yeah.
It's getting more and more difficult for small agencies to stay afloat. It truly is, which is unfortunate. And those are federal guidelines, not state, but federal.
Mr. Chair, Jackie, would you be able to share, and I think you had shared this at a past work session, just those number of clients in 2015 compared to the number of clients today? I mean, that kind of tells the story as well.
Right.
Here we are. Back, one of our highest years, back in 2013, our number of clients were 138. When we pulled this report, actually, we do have it to the end of 2022, it was 74. So we're seeing a significant, but also those are related to some of our workforce shortages with not being able to retain that contract. So they are declining. We also talked about revenue per client or cost per client. Back, where is that, Jenna? Cost. Back in 2013, it was per client, it was $755. In 2016, it was $156. Today, we are at a cost per client of $3,258.
Jackie, as we would move forward, what would happen to the clients that you're working with today? You know, how would that?
There is a process, as we, if we choose not to, reapply for that certification, there would be a notification, and then we would begin to assist those clients with choices on where they would like to transfer out based on who can provide the service within the county of Todd.
Jackie, if we move forward with this, what happens to the existing staff that you have for this department?
We haven't done much work on that yet because I didn't have any direction with the decision on the board, but we want to retain as many of those staff as we can. We have lots of work to do.
Yeah, and then, you know, if you look at, we've lost over $1 million in almost, 10 years? Close to it. It's a lot of money, but you know what? It was well worth it. Taking care of our constituents.
And we've been able to run a very good program, very little deficiency, to 0 to none, I think, our last survey. I commend the staff, the nurses, our home health aides, our support staff, our billing staff. Without them, we wouldn't have made it this long. So which is why counties have transitioned out of the service line, unfortunately, but it's becoming more and more difficult. Software is also something I think we need to be aware of. We have PHDoc, which is an MCCC product that counties use, and it's becoming more and more difficult due to the increase of regulations for them to maintain that software product. So it's become very laborious for us in the county, which makes us less efficient and costs us or counties more dollars as well.
All right, we do have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second that.
Second? Commissioner Denny? Further discussion? And something like this, I am gonna request a roll call vote.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes. Okay, thank you. And with that, we will enter into a closed session for negotiation strategy. The commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03 to consider strategies for labor negotiations. Is there a motion, please, to go into closed session?
So moved.
Motion by Nasca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. We will, I will ask for a motion to reopen the meeting from the closed session.
So moved.
Motion by Nazga, second by Denny. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, then we'll turn it over to Coordinator Pelzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a board action this morning to change to Personnel Policy, Article 7, Section 7.04, Holidays. The background for this is Minnesota Statute 645.44, Subdivision 5 has been amended by law to include Juneteenth to be a legal holiday, observed on June 19th, effective date of signage, and further amended by law to require the label Columbus Day to be replaced with Indigenous Peoples' Day, effective the date of signage. Due to this change, a change to personnel policy is necessary. And the options are to approve the attached resolution adopting changes to personnel policy, Article 7, Section 7.04, holidays, including Juneteenth, June 19, and change label of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples' Day. And I left another option off. It should have said do not approve. But the recommendation is to approve the attached resolution adopting changes to personnel policy, Article 7, Section 7.04, holidays, including Juneteenth, June 19, and change label of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Ooh, close.
You can have it, Barb.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And the second board action that I have is for MOAs for changes to Juneteenth and Columbus Day. And the background for this is Minnesota Statute 645.44, Subdivision 5 has been amended by law to include Juneteenth to be a legal holiday, observed on June 19th, effective date of signage, and further amended by law to require the label of Columbus Day to be replaced with Indigenous Peoples' Day, effective the date of signage. MOAs have been prepared for the collective bargaining agreements in order to implement this change. And the options are to approve MOAs for the respective collective bargaining agreements where necessary to include Juneteenth, June 19, and change label of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples' Day, contingent upon agreement by the unions, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Standing reports. Auditor Treasurer.
As it was with heavy heart that we had to move forward with that special election notification. And so I just wanted people to know that the filings did open this morning at 8. Our normal reporting that people would go out and look at the Secretary website is not available right now. So I do know that our election administrator has set up, will I be able to get to the website from here?
Yep.
Where, here?
Yep.
She has set up a pinpoint on the county website that you can go scroll down.
Top left corner, Denise.
Thank you. And it will update every time somebody files. So that's where you'll see the filing. And so that the public knows this too. If you scroll down to the middle of the page is where we have our notifications that come up. And so it'll be here. And when you click on it, it'll actually, she set a template in here just listing who has filed. And of course, there's just the 1 and 2 right now as a placeholder. And then it does have the updated date. So every time somebody files, we will update that manually ourselves because the Secretary of State will not be available until like August.
Okay.
Because of this special election happening when it happens. So just letting the public know that, because I'm sure we will be getting calls on that special election for Commissioner District 3. I just wanted to report on that. And then next week I will be at the Macro Conference in Brainerd. I will be here Monday and Tuesday for meetings, but heading out Tuesday evening.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. County Attorney?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Commissioners? Nazca?
Yeah, well, had quite a few meetings in May for the, prior to this one. I guess the one note for me is we have the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, met at Sunrose Courts. Business as usual, but we still need a replacement for my district, District 4. We need someone to sit on that, and it's a very tough one to fill. That's all I've got for
It's hard to find someone.
working on it, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, nothing there.
Commissioner Denny?
Since our last meeting, just that special session with, for Commissioner Erickson, and then we had a few cancellations of committees. A few moved around to this week, so this week and next week are my, looks like they're pretty stacked up for me, but, nothing as of now, nothing new or exciting.
Okay. Commissioner Becker?
I attended the Long Prairie Watershed meeting. We had facilities, ditch meeting, emergency board meeting, AMC workshop in Staples. Denise and I attended together. Region 5, we had the safety, personnel, we had a wellness committee yesterday, and I had corrections last night.
Okay, and with me, I had a ton of meetings in May, from public health to Rainbow Rider to solid waste to soil and water, CPT, and just a lot of stuff going on. And this month we'll have meetings. I'm going to ask the board to bring your spouses to Commissioner Erickson's funeral on the 17th. Hopefully we can sit together and represent the board. And yeah. With that, coordinators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a busy May as well, a number of internal and external meetings. I did have some additional meetings with our providers, our broadband providers. So I met with CTC and with ARVIG and also with West Central, gathering some really good information on their current fiber layout, anything that they have proposed, and then any future plans that they're willing to share. So I'm really close to a point where I'm ready to bring that information forward to the board, and I would hope at that first meeting in July we'll be able to do that and maybe have the Broadband Coalition be here to hear that as well. So that work continues. We're going through interviews right now for our payroll and benefits specialist, and hopefully having second round interviews this week and get somebody on board for that position.
Good.
So that's what I have.
Okay, is there anything else that needs to come in front of this board? If not, we will recess till June 20th. We will start the work session here with our state legislators in 5 minutes. All right. Okay, we're going to call this Tuesday, June 6, 2023 work session to order. Today we have our special guests, Senator Utke and Representative Weiner. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
And we are just delighted to hear what happened at the Capitol. So, Senator, you want to start out?
Sure. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, does the green light mean we're on? And we're on, I can hear
Yep.
it. So, I don't know how much you want to hear about what went on at the Capitol.
Give us a brief recap of.
You know, something that directly affects you, of course, is there was the county program aid increased across the state. So we've got that for the counties. We've got the LGA was equally increased for our cities. But after that, I usually have the disclaimer or the notice that, yes, there's probably some more money coming, but there's going to be a lot more demands put on you. The mandate's coming. And my only possible suggestion would be to proceed cautiously, because we all watched what got spent this last year, because of course we went down with a large surplus. It all got consumed or all got spent, plus some additional taxes that's being raised. I don't see that the state's that this is gonna play out well. And we all know what happens when the state comes up with a shortfall. They start pulling back the money that they promised to you guys. And so that's why I say proceed cautiously. 2 and 4 years down the road, I think it's going to be a totally different picture, unfortunately. And we're all going to have to roll up our sleeves and kind of make up for what we saw happening the last 5 months. So that's my little bit of at least how I read it. Going forward, it looks good on the surface, but as they say, watch out for the rest of the story. And you know, that was kind of the big thing. We're going to see there are a few positives coming, and a big deal for us because we spent a lot of work on it last year. There is some relief coming for our nursing homes. Our nursing homes are going to see some benefits. Our various long-term care providers, from your assisted living to your PCAs, your non-emergency medical transport, all of those that deal with elderly that need extra help, and also those in our disability communities. There is additional funding coming to help there, and most of their hands were tied because the state is fully responsible for their funding, and they just weren't able to pay the salaries to be competitive, and they were losing their workforce. And there is funding coming to help that out. So those are important things that we're going to see some good movement on moving forward, and it was much needed.
Okay.
Beyond that, there's infrastructure items that are coming forward. There were some bonding projects in the county that have been funded, so that's a good deal. So as much as sometimes we focus on probably the downside or the negative, there were things coming through that are going to help out going forward.
Right. Yep. And that's things that we want to thank you for is your support. You know, we got the extra money for the solid waste facility. My constituents down in my district on the Long Lake Higgins, the 1.4 million that went to the Sauk River watershed. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough for that. I mean, that's really going to help them. It's going to help their property value.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's little projects like that, but yet they are so important to those that are affected. So it was nice to see
Yep.
some of those things make it through.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Anybody else for Senator? Okay, Representative?
Well, the senator is a much more polished speaker than I am, so I give him all the credit there. There are some good things that came through, and the bonding was really exciting. We were not expecting the money for the transfer station, so when that came through, that was a great phone call.
Yeah.
You know, that was very happy about that. The money for Higgins Long Lake obviously was great. I was excited about Wellness for the Woods, that funding. So that was a bill that had bipartisan support. I authored that one. I'm really excited to see the effects of it. You know, how that's going to, I know with one of the sheriffs, I had mentioned about the funding there, and he felt for every dollar that's going to be spent with that group, it's probably gonna save our county multiple dollars in interaction with sheriffs in the future. So I'm excited, and I would really like to see the reporting in the future as to our success rate with that. So that was good. Chris had mentioned some of this broadband funding that's gonna be coming through. You know, and there was some good things in a lot of these bills. The omnibus bills, I think I've voiced my concerns on them for a long time now. When you have good things in these bills, but then there is a lot of spending that has, you know, adverse effects as well. I have a hard time voting for those omnibus bills. There was another topic that I wanted to hit on, and now I'm drawing a blank.
So the
I
conversation.
apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, I know what it was. The point that the senator had made, we came into the session with, you know, it was a $17.5 billion surplus. When it was adjusted for inflation, it actually is about a $19.5 billion surplus. And, you know, when I gave the senator comments about being a polished speaker, I like to break things down as simple as possible. It makes sense to me, and I think it works for people as well. I compared it to winning the lottery. We came into this session and they had won the lottery. Unfortunately, what happens to a large percentage of lottery winners is they go bankrupt. It's in the high 70s% of lottery winners that go bankrupt because we're not responsible with our spending. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen here. So we see some of the national, actually global economic factors that are tying in here. And I'm afraid with the spending that went forward, mandates that are going to be coming to the counties with a lot of this money, are we looking at a financial cliff? Because the tax revenue is going to have to be greatly increased to keep up with the growth of government, first of all. I don't remember the numbers. 3M used to be the largest employer in the state of Minnesota, and I believe after the FTEs or full-time employees that were added this year, the state will be the biggest employer in the state of Minnesota. In business, if you're management heavy, that usually is a downfall of a business. So I hate to be negative or pessimistic, but that's the reality of, you know, what we're seeing. So I have some concerns. You said proceed with caution. I echo those words strongly. You know, it's always better to plan for the worst and hope for the best and be prepared for the negative than to be blindsided by it. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, so with us, I think in Todd County, some of the things that we're hearing from our HHS staff is the fact that DHS, I don't know if they don't have a clue or, you know, they just keep dumping shit on, and I'll use that word, onto our staff, where we're not Hennepin County. We don't have a specific employee to handle certain issues. We have one employee probably handling 10 different items, okay? Which puts a burden on our county because what we're seeing is a lot of rapid burnout. And you know, when you're trying to figure out programs, and they're changing their programs all the time, and we're trying to stay ahead of that game, it's hard. And you know, I've never seen East Dakota so much in my life than I did this year, where they've separated the state of Minnesota, you know, with the Duluth, the 7-county metro area, and Rochester, all over on that eastern side, going, okay, this is greater Minnesota. You know, we're trying to deal with stuff that you're dealing with in the metro area, but you have more population. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what you're running into, and we see that because I spend a lot of my time in both the Human Services Committee and the Health Committees, and when you talk about the counties, I mean, Ramsey County will come in, Hennepin County will come in, and they have full departments to handle these things, and they actually help out the state in some cases where you mentioned your one person is multitasking and doing multiple pieces of this where they've got departments to just do a single thing.
Right.
And they have computer systems to do this, and they have that to do additional things. And yeah, it's totally different when you get outside that metro into our rural areas because, you know, we just, it's all based on population, and we know what we have out here. We kind of like what we have out here,
Right.
but your workload, and, you know, your workload is big right now because just in social services alone, you're going through the full redetermination over the 12 months where you've got to requalify every service receiver, recipient.
Right.
And just that alone is a big undertaking after coming out of the COVID time period. And hopefully, I mean, there are a few tools in place for that, and the state is supposed to be fully funding. It was in the spreadsheet to take care of that cost to you guys. So hopefully that all comes through because you're going to have a lot of additional costs over this next year.
Yeah. Jackie?
Thank you for supporting that. Additional reimbursement around healthcare renewal. But again, like Commissioner Newman had said, we have all of our staff working all of the programs. So to break it down to specific to healthcare becomes difficult. And it's a good thing there's no end date to that spending, and they want it to be flexible. Be flexible, they said, but we're gonna audit you, which is more work. But again, of all of our 22 staff in that particular unit, they're all doing the same thing in all of the programs, which could be up to 15 different programs. So to say it's only can be used for healthcare makes it more difficult to spend it only in healthcare because they are all working so simultaneously with all of those programs. And that's something I did share with Eric Ratzman, who is the county liaison for DHS. Thank you for the additional dollars, but it's gonna be hard for us to delineate the work they do because they do it all. Versus your Ramsey or Hennepin or, you know, your larger counties that have one individual working one program.
Yeah, they actually probably have multiple people working that one program because they're able to focus. But yeah, you just got to make your paperwork look good,
Right.
so that it looks good going in, and you can justify it coming back on an audit side, and just make it work because you're due those dollars, and make sure you get them.
Yep.
Well, I think you're exactly right about the difference between the metro and greater Minnesota or East Dakota. I use it both ways sometimes, East Dakota or greater Minnesota, but we had a conversation with the sheriff down in the metro, and I asked him the question, what's the difference that you've seen in the last 30 years of your service? And he said, well, not much has changed. And I kind of thought that's an odd response. I would think that many things have changed. So then we started discussing some of the things. And when we talk about mental health up here, we don't have the services that they have. So he said, well, yeah, if we have a mental health issue, we can bring them to this resource or that resource or whatever. I said, that's why it hasn't changed much for you, because you have these different entities that help you out dealing with things that you didn't have to deal with before and you still don't have to deal with now. Out here, we don't have those resources. We don't have the same tools that you have. And he kind of stopped and went, okay, I see your point. So we do have different challenges, and trying to articulate those challenges when it came to, I'm on economic development and taxes, and talk about how these things affect us. It was a little frustrating because it is very much viewed a metro versus outstate. There's a big separation there. And I don't know how to overcome that. Maybe more conversations, but at this time it's very difficult.
And you're right. I mean, mental health is a big issue. And nobody has a solution on which direction we should go. You know, when the state closed the state hospitals, you know, like up at Ferguson and elsewhere within the state, that's when everything, they just basically pushed everything down on the counties and said, well, you guys deal with them. Well, then now it's like a revolving door, you know. The sheriff's department goes out there, they pick them up, you know, you send them up to the hospital, and it's just that revolving door. There's no place to send them.
Right.
So, you know, down there when we had a $19 billion surplus, that's some of the stuff they should have been looking at, saying, hey, the state as a whole, how are we gonna fix the mental problem that we have out?
The other thing that I'd like to address, and I've talked about this quite a bit over the last year, is simple demographics. We always talk about a worker shortage. That will not change, basically, because of simple demographics. We lost a lot of the workforce during COVID. We have the baby boomer generation. So if I'm repeating this again, I apologize, but I think it's worth saying. You know, as they retire, we have less and less people available. We also have a negative birth rate. So we're not having enough people coming up through the system in order to keep workers here. You know, as a country, there's a lot of discussion about people coming across the southern border. But when you compare that number to the death rate, it's not keeping up. So even with all of those people that are coming across the border right now, comparing to that baby booming generation that is starting to pass away, and that's just the beginning of it, you know, you can expect a worker shortage for probably the next 15 to 20 years, and maybe longer. So that's one thing that just gets discussed a lot, is what are we going to do to deal with the worker shortage? The numbers are not there to support it. So we have to do a better job of retaining the employees we have and moving forward, because there's just not the bodies out there that there was before.
If I could, I see Kathy's here too, and with corrections, we had a corrections meeting last night, and we got extra funding through the corrections. So Kathy, I don't know if you want to say anything?
Thank you, Commissioner. Very appreciative on behalf of all Community Corrections Act associations and county probation agencies that funding got passed so that we can begin to provide services locally, rurally, that are happening elsewhere in populated counties. With the funding, as the senator mentioned before, there are strings attached to that. Mega reporting requirements, statewide supervision standards, caseload sizes, things like that. So we'll do our very best to meet. Have to, because the money is dependent on us meeting those. The funding was not in an amount that could make us whole. requirements, but it was a huge start to get a formula in place, so every single county gets funded the same way. Very much appreciate your support in that, and that I know you reached out to colleagues, and especially, and when trying to get rid of the base fund of $150,000. Colleagues, and I really appreciate
Great.
it. Thank you.
It's good to hear that there's probation got some, because probation wasn't getting any for the longest time, and there was, I know personally there's two things I was concerned with, probation and jurors, because jurors get nothing, so to speak, and they still got nothing. They didn't get anything, but then probation got some, because for a while that wasn't in the picture either, and it was like, that was kind of the focus of trying to get some help, because there's other areas that got a lot of help that didn't have the same needs as what you were going through. So I'm glad there's something there that
Thank you.
is gonna make life a little easier.
It will.
Good.
Most definitely, and very, very much appreciate your support. And again, the day that I surprised you in the middle of the session, both of you came out and with me. Thank you. It was really cool.
Sometimes getting out of this, off the floor is a good deal.
It's a good thing?
So maybe the thank you goes to you.
Anytime
Yeah.
you're done with the Capitol, and we're on the floor, please, knock on the door.
Is there anybody else out there got any concerns?
I would like to say one other thing. I had sent out something about bonding towards the end of the session, and if there were any projects,
Yeah.
that deadline is coming up. So if there is bonding projects that would like to get started, it needs to be done fairly soon.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
What they're doing is putting together their road tour, where they go out
Okay, yep.
for about 5 different weeks. They'll go out, particularly in rural, and I think even in the metro, they'll do about 3 days of that week doing a certain region,
Okay.
looking at the upcoming projects. And the projects can always be put in later, but it's nice to have them on the list, so as they're touring our areas, that if it is something that they want to look at, they can. And if they stop and look at it and go through all that effort, that does help it rise up in the pecking order as far as priorities go.
Okay. Would that include broadband also?
No, this would be just for the bonding committee.
Yep.
Broadband typically comes through the Ag Committee
Okay.
in most cases.
All right.
The one benefit of that tour, as Paul mentioned, is, it's a group of both sides, Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, we met
that are-
with them on the solid waste facility.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when they're up in that area, you can start connecting people and faces and stuff like that, where we didn't have a whole lot of success reaching across the aisle on some of these things. There is one of the members on the other side that is on that bonding tour, and he had asked if there was going to be anything up in our area, and he would like to stop in and see, and then stop by my place and visit. So those are some of those connections where, if we can get some of those metro reps out here to visit, to humanize us a little bit, that goes a long ways for us. And then they can see the differences, that what they're dealing with versus what we're dealing with, and hopefully start working together a little better.
Mike, do you know, is the Batcher building in Staples on the bonding tour again this year or not?
Which
It's
building?
the Batcher's building, it's restoration. They were on the bonding tour a few years back, and I know they never did get any bonding at that time.
I don't recall seeing that
Okay.
at all.
That might be one that, if you're looking for something within the area to watch for.
I would assume Representative Poston had
He-
started that?
Yes, he did. He was there at the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check and
Okay.
What is the name of that?
It was a Batcher Building
Batch-
Restoration.
Batcher Building?
Batcher.
It's an opera house?
It's an opera house.
Opera House, yeah.
Yes, in Staples.
Oh,
Batchers?
now that,
Opera house?
The opera house.
because that
Yes.
was, a couple years ago, they stopped there on the tour.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Mr. Chair.
And I haven't heard one way or the other. Go ahead, Chris.
Mr. Chair, I really want to take an opportunity on behalf of the board and all of our department leaders here to recognize the magnitude of the funding that we received. So that solid waste transfer station, the funding that we will receive is 2.79 million. That's sizable, and we need to recognize that in that volume. So thank you very much for your support on that. The Higgins Long was 1.4 million. That's sizable again. And the Wellness in the Woods, I believe that was 250,000, but it was multiple year? Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, yes. So thank you for those, and I'm sure there were many other things that you did for our county and our surrounding region, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, the Wellness in the Woods, we do get a few of those each year where in the scope of state government, that is such a small amount of funding, but it is so big to the mission that they carry out, and they're so happy with that it's wonderful to see that happen and, be able to participate in those things, because it seems like we see millions and millions of dollars go through on certain things, and it's gone, and you're just like, there's no, I shouldn't say appreciation for it or whatever, but you just kind of wonder what happens, and then you get something like what they can do with a couple $100,000, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yep, the
The
results.
same with our solid waste. I mean, that was huge for us to be able to receive that. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions from out there? Okay.
Maybe just another comment, and I won't take up much more time than this, but just kind of reiterating what Senator Atkin, Representative Weiner said regarding the CPA amounts, and that is sizable for Todd County. That's great, but we will have those unfunded mandates, such as the paid family medical leave. That will be coming, and that will be huge for Todd County. That at this time is at minimum $58,000 in a payroll tax for us at this time. So we're going to have to plan for that for 2026 when that gets implemented, and the staffing issues that may come with that.
From you as the county, the cities, the school districts, you all got clobbered with that. Because in most cases, everybody already had things in place to work with your employees and take care of them, just like a lot of business did. It doesn't make any difference what we do wherever, whether it's government or private business, the employees are the most important asset we have, because without people, we can't do anything. So people, we were doing our best already, but now you're gonna watch that cost come through along with a lot of other things. You're gonna have to send out tax statements next year that are the school district gets a year off on the paid family medical leave because it was front-loaded with a year's coverage, which was $135 million. So that shows what that cost is spread across the school district. And of course, that's starting at the lowest deduction, the 0.7, which you can split between employer and employee. I don't know how that's going to stay at that level very long, and it's going to have to go up a lot to actually cover the costs of that benefit. So when you start sending out property tax statements and they're going up because you have to increase your levies, and people are going to wonder, well, it's not your fault, but unfortunately it's these mandates flowing down from the state to what you guys have to work with. And it's going to make it a challenge, and it's unfortunate because you're going to raise rates and you're probably not offering the type of benefit for that money that you'd like to.
So how'd you guys vote on that?
How did
I
we
ask?
How did we vote? The mandated one, I'm 100% against it. I've actually spent a lot of time, I'm involved with the National Insurance Organization. I'm actually a officer with them, and with them, I was the sponsor of the paid family medical leave language, but where it's a private insurance policy. So your insurance agent, and actually it's your life insurance agent that sells you your short and long-term disability policy, could sell you a paid family medical leave. It's just that we had to authorize the state to let those policies come in. Then as an employer, if it's a tool that you want in your toolbox to retain or recruit employees, et cetera, you can use it. No mandates. Of course, when it goes through the private sector, costs go way down. I also participated in Washington, D.C. as a panelist on the same conversation, but running it through the private sector.
Right.
Making it an option rather than what happened here. This is totally wrong. Like most things this year, pretty much party line votes on everything. Just got rammed down our throats.
Wow.
I was a no vote on that as well. And the discussion was the private option, and we offered that. You know, I think 80% of businesses already offer some family medical leave. When we discussed this on the floor, I talked about the organic growth of business out in greater Minnesota. You know, it's you end up hiring family the majority of the time, or your neighbors. They're people you know. You're going to treat them well as you can. But now when this is mandated by the state, and it's down to, there's no exemption for small businesses. There's no, 50 and under employees. It's down to one employee. So this is going to hurt small businesses. And the option was there. You could do this through a private option, and we offered that as an amendment. And on the House floor, and it was not taken. So there was options out there that could have been done that would have saved a lot of money for school districts, for county employees, so on and so forth, and it was not taken.
Wow.
If you've got, let's say, you're a small business where it's just you and your spouse, but you write each other, everybody gets a paycheck. You're an S corp or however you got it set up, so it isn't just one check coming out. One of you is exempt, because if you're the owner, you could say you're exempt, but if it's your wife or husband, and they get a check too, you're paying this on them. There's no way to get away from it, even for that close of a family member.
Wow.
So they're getting everybody. And on one hand, I can see why they set it up that way. They're going to need every last dollar to try to make this thing float, because it's still going to sink, and they're going to have to add more funding to it. It got front-loaded with almost $1 billion of that surplus money. So it's our taxpayer money is front-loading this, and it's still going to need a lot.
And the chances of fraud are pretty high as well.
Wow.
You're going to pay in, 0.7% or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you do the math on it, if you make $60,000, it's going to cost you, if I remember off the top of my head, it was like $400 and some for the year. But you can take 12 weeks of family medical leave. There are people who are going to be abusing this system. Because it costs you less than $500 and you get 12 weeks vacation, basically. Of course, there's going to be some fraud in this.
Everybody knows somebody in Florida in the middle of January, right?
Yeah.
And they've left it so wide open, it basically that would qualify. And in our businesses, and I keep telling people, what we're going to do, again, is we're going to abuse our best employees, because they're most loyal to us. It's that employee that's on the fringe that figures out how to use the system. They're going to be the ones that,
Yep.
early on, as I see it, they'll be, okay, I know somebody in Florida or Texas or someplace warm in the winter I want to go to, or you name the desire, it's wide open for the abuse and fraud.
Oh, my. And who's going to police that? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. Anything else? County program aid. Thank you for that. I know AMC has been really, but you know, you guys are right, spend very wisely, because we've seen that where the state has come in and boosted it, and we've seen where the state has come in and took it back too, so we'll be very careful on that, but that'll help Todd County out this year greatly, so.
Yeah, that's it. That part of it is a good deal. The thing when I say move forward cautiously is we started with that $19 billion surplus, and of course, early on, they passed a bill that added inflation. Inflation was always figured in our forecasts, but it was a side note to tell you what was really going on. Well, now that bill took and knocked down the visible surplus to make it look a little less, so it went, you know, down $1.5 billion with the swipe of a pen. But a lot of spending is one time. Sometimes it is just going to be for fiscal year 24. Some will be for the fiscal 24-25 biennium, but it comes to an end. Now, if you're building a road or a bridge or a building, one-time funding is okay because the project's over. They funded things in health and human services and items like that that we know don't go away. Once you start a program, it's really hard to shut the water faucet off. That's why we're going to see these things change as we get into that second biennium, and that one-time funding is no longer there, but they're going to be back at the Capitol looking for money. Well, when the state runs into challenges financially, they can shut off some of these things that are flowing out to you guys. Even, you know, our disability communities, our long-term care, nursing homes, they've all seen it in the past. Schools even got it, you know, when they held back the money and, you know, paid them late and all those things. They figure out all sorts of these creative ways to balance their books, but it's on your back. So that's why I keep telling everybody, be cautious, because it's going to probably look pretty good the next couple of years, but we got to watch that trail of one-time money, and I don't think it's going to land, that plane will land real smoothly.
I would like to say, and we've had some great compliments. You know, we've talked about a lot of bad stuff here today, but it has been an absolute honor and privilege to serve the people of this area, and I truly mean that. It's been, you know, there's a struggle down there, and you're dealing with that, and somebody from, well, they call it in district, but I always say somebody from home comes down and visits. That's great. The school trips down there, that was like the highlight. That was that and the hot rodders showing up at the Capitol was good. But no, you almost have to, you have to go away sometimes to realize how well or how good things are at home. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate our area, the common sense, the respect, the good people. Like I said, it has been an honor and a privilege to work for the people of this area.
Thank you. I also want to compliment you on your Friday morning radio. Very enlightening, you know, and like you said, when you got back to God's country, you're in God's country, right?
Yeah.
So, and Senator, thank you so much for driving down today.
Oh.
You know, it's
Thanks for having us.
Is it dry up there like it is here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And, you know, I'm not sure, are you, up in where I'm at in Park Rapids, our whole region is light soil because it's all irrigated farmland, growing potatoes, et cetera. You got the lighter soil here because we're seeing the effects of no rain, and there's been some spotty showers, but I know right in Park Rapids, the topic, no matter who you bump into, wherever you see them, the topic is rain. Everybody's trying to do the rain dance because we need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam was going to be doing that after we're done here today, right?
Is there anything else? Okay, so kind of any other questions? We just, like I said, we can't thank you enough both for coming in front of the board, having this discussion. It is very, very appreciated. So we just can't thank you enough, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you in the parades. They're coming up, so, yeah. And Chris?
And Mr. Chair, we do have just a light reception planned afterwards for you to please stay and join us for a little luncheon. And maybe just a round of applause, really, for what they've done for us.
So with
Thank
that,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll join you down there.